Mara got the promotion on a Tuesday. The email came in during a meeting, and she had to sit perfectly still, staring at her own reflection in a dark monitor, while her chest did something she didn't have a word for. She called him from the parking garage, breathless, laughing, still holding the printed letter like it might evaporate if she let go. And when she walked through the door that night, he was already standing there with his arms open, saying the words before she even got her shoes off. "I am so proud of you. Here is what nobody tells you about moments like that. Some people don't feel joy first. They feel a flinch." Mara laughed it off. "It's not a big deal, honestly. Half the team could have gotten it." He blinked. "Mara, you worked for this for 2 years. I know. Anyway, how was your day?" And just like that, the moment was gone. Redirected, deflected, handed back before it could land. If you've ever done that, taken a compliment and immediately built a case against it, taken a "let me help" and answered with "I'm fine" before the sentence even finished, taken someone staying and quietly started calculating what they'll eventually want in return, you already know something most people never say out loud. Asking for love was never the hardest part. Receiving it is. Psychologist Shelley Gable built her entire career around a question almost nobody else was asking. Not how couples survive their worst days. How couples respond to each other's best ones. She called it capitalization. The act of sharing good news and having someone respond in a way that makes it feel like it matters to them too. Gable and her team mapped 4 ways people typically respond when someone shares something wonderful. Active constructive, genuine enthusiasm, full attention, follow-up questions. Passive constructive, a quiet distracted "that's nice." Active destructive, finding the flaw in the good news before the good news even finishes landing. Passive destructive, changing the subject entirely, like it never happened. Here's the part that reshaped how psychologists think about intimacy. The way partners responded to good news predicted relationship satisfaction more powerfully than how they responded to bad news. Gable's team even tracked couples over time and found that active constructive responding didn't just correlate with happier relationships in the moment. It predicted whether intimacy kept growing months later, even after accounting for how supportive partners were during arguments and hardship. Think about that for a second. The fights weren't the deciding factor. The birthdays were. The small wins were. The ordinary Tuesday afternoons were. Because comfort during a crisis is almost expected. But real closeness reveals itself in the ordinary, unguarded moment when someone is thriving, and you get to find out whether their success feels like a threat to you or an extension of you. Now here's where it gets personal. What if the block was never about the other person's response at all? What if it was about yours? Mara wasn't deflecting because she doubted his love. She was deflecting because somewhere long before he existed in her life, she learned a rule. Being celebrated came with a cost. Maybe pride was followed by pressure to keep performing. Maybe kindness was followed by an invoice collected quietly, later when she least expected it. Maybe affection always had fine print attached to the bottom. So her nervous system drew its own conclusion, years before she had language sophisticated enough to explain it. If I need nothing, nothing can be used against me. That belief was never irrational. It kept a smaller, younger version of her safe. It also kept a grown, capable version of her painfully alone, standing in the middle of her own good news, unable to let anyone actually reach her. Subscribe and turn on notifications for daily love psychology, because this pattern runs deeper than most people ever realize. And understanding it changes everything about how you love and how you let yourself be loved. Now this is where it becomes even more interesting. It wasn't a straight line. 6 weeks later, she got recognized in a team meeting, and that old reflex came roaring back before she could catch it. She waved it off, made a joke, changed the subject so fast her own manager looked confused. That night she told him what happened, half expecting him to be disappointed in her. Instead he just said, "That's okay, you'll catch it next time. Or you won't, and that's okay too." No pressure, no scorekeeping, just steadiness offered again without conditions attached. 3 months after the promotion, Mara noticed something. He kept doing it anyway. Every small win, every good day, every moment she tried to shrink, he met with the same steady enthusiasm over and over without asking her to perform gratitude for it. He wasn't trying to fix her. He was simply refusing to stop showing up the same way, no matter how many times she flinched. And slowly, without either of them naming it, something in her started to soften. Picture standing in the rain with both hands cupped upward, refusing to let a single drop land year after year, convinced that catching the water means owing something back for it. Then one day, without deciding to, you simply stop pulling your hands away. That is not surrender. That is one of the bravest things a nervous system can learn to do. Receiving is not passive. It is an act of vulnerability that asks you to believe warmth can arrive without a hidden invoice attached to the back of it. Mara didn't have a single dramatic breakthrough. She had 100 small ones. A compliment she let sit for 3 extra seconds before deflecting it. A "let me help," she answered with "okay" instead of "I'm fine." "I'm proud of you," she let land somewhere in her chest instead of immediately handing it back. That's where real intimacy actually starts. Not in the giving. In the moment you stop treating every kind word, every steady hand, like evidence waiting to justify its price. Love was never only about finding someone willing to hold you. Sometimes the harder, more necessary work is discovering you never had to earn being held in the first place. If you've spent years being the strong one, the fine one, the one who needs nothing, let this be the moment you consider a different kind of strength. Ask yourself, honestly, when was the last time someone complimented you and you simply said thank you without adding a correction underneath it? When was the last time someone offered help and you let them carry part of the weight without insisting you had it handled? When was the last time someone stayed and you let yourself believe they might actually want to be there with no invoice waiting behind the door? If those questions were hard to answer, you are not broken. You simply learned a long time ago that safety meant needing nothing from anyone. That lesson made sense once. It doesn't have to be the only lesson you carry for life. The kind of strength that lets someone else's hand stay open toward you has to be practiced. Nobody arrives at it by accident. It starts small. A 3-second pause before deflecting, an "okay" instead of "I'm fine." One evening where you let the good news simply be good. Subscribe and turn on notifications for daily love psychology. Because next we're talking about why the strongest relationships were never built on needing each other to survive, but on choosing each other while still standing completely on your own.